Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to those that have just joined us. This is actually Singa's first UK webinar, but based on the interest gained for this one, certainly not our last. But bear with us on this first one as we work through the first session, which should last around 45 minutes, famous last words. But any questions, pop them in the chat and we'll get through them. And a bunch of them at the end. But let's introduce our participants for this webinar. So first up, we've got Paul Weeks and Darren Lintz, co-directors of Advocate Pubs. Great to have you with us. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, thank you. Nice to see you all.
And good to get the sound check working at the same time. But yeah, good to have you with us. We've also got Steve Tinsley, landlord at Hogarth's in Stafford, which is part of Amber Taverns. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve. And we have Martin Via, country manager for Shufl. Thanks for joining us, Martin.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I should also say hi and introduce myself. I'm Steve Dalton, country manager at Singa. I'll be moderating, asking some questions, and no doubt having to answer a few of my own from time to time. But once again, thanks for everyone for joining. And I think it's also a good idea to bring together a variety of different perspectives and opinions. You know, the dynamic of having Shufl and Advocate, Singa and Amber Taverns together should offer some insight, but also remind everyone, and I think it's worth reminding everyone, that much of what we share, until we understand the lockdown easing measures and restrictions properly, that a lot of what we're sharing will actually be opinions, suggestions, assumptions. So I think it's important just to clarify that point, but nonetheless there should be some valuable contributions from all, and hopefully you take something away from this that is certainly worthwhile. But for those that have stumbled across this webinar by accident, which is always a possibility, this session is about competitive socializing in hospitality, and if it hasn't been explained properly by the end of this webinar, then you've simply met 5 people who got dressed properly for the first time in 6 weeks and tried their very best. And on that note, let's get started. So guys, taking stock of where we are, and I think Paul, maybe you could start with us, start by helping us with this. But you've seen many changes, as anyone probably has on this webinar. But is it fair to say that it's given you some extra time to think about entertainment in general and what you might have been offering in the past and how that might change in the future? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all came as a bit of a shock to everybody. We heard the jungle drums maybe a week, 2 weeks before the full sort of closure of pubs. We'd already watered down some of our entertainment offering because we thought footfall would be down. Well, actually, in the wet-led businesses, they were going up and up and up, even though, you know, the government, as I said, don't go to pubs. We was actually seeing more people come to pubs to drink in the wet-led businesses. In the food businesses, we saw mass decline. There's no getting away from that, you know, and the older clientele kept away. So it was all a bit of a shock. We've been back now, what, 7 weeks, is it? I'm losing track of the days, actually. I think it's Thursday today, is that right? So yeah, it seems like forever, but it's been a good time to reflect on what we did before, what we're going to do moving forward, things that worked, things that didn't work, opportunities that may arise. One of the big problems we always had was, how do you kind of quantify whether something is successful? You know, are people coming in for that band because they're coming to see the band specifically and they're dragging in new business, or people coming to your business because they just like the atmosphere of the bar and you could have any band on, you know? And it was always a case of the cost versus the getting the reward. So we can stand back now and we can look and we can do a bit more work on, you know, how entertainment was working for us in the businesses and where we can improve. Obviously, when we get a chance to relaunch, that of course is all dependent on any restrictions that we may or may not have. And I think there's no getting away from the fact that we're going to probably get some form of restrictions when we do get the thumbs up that we're allowed to start opening pubs, bars and nightclubs again. I don't know how, in some instances, we can even do social distancing properly. Busy nightclubs and busy weekend bars, rely on a mass quantity of people. So this is going to be interesting times ahead. And now, we're doing all we can to look at ways of not just, relaunching the entertainment offering and ways to drive the business with, anything we can. We're also looking at ways that we can maybe sort of satisfy some social distancing and get some control of whatever we get asked to do, and to give the customers confidence that they can visit safely as well, which is a big thing. So lots of thinking going on, lots of minds working, and lots of licensees who incidentally have been great, as have all our suppliers, and the majority of our landlords, they know who they are. There's some that are a little bit more challenging, and there's lots of national debate about that, but the people are the people behind all of this, and we've got some great people, and hopefully we'll be able to keep hold of everybody to get back into business as soon as we can.
That's good to hear, and I don't envy the task of trying to figure out entertainment in line with managing social distancing. It is a challenge that's in front of a lot of us, and but thanks for the insight. And Steve, I guess really similar situation on your side as well, right? I mean, you mentioned the other day that actually the time break has given you a lot of time to think. Are you in line with Paul's thoughts, or have you spent your time doing something completely different?
Catching up on sleep. No, we find ourselves in exactly the same situation, looking back over the data, trying to figure out where we've made mistakes or things have worked, and trying to analyse the business in more detail. The big factor is that going forward, everybody is just speculating. Nobody knows exactly how and when things are going to get relaxed. The only thing that I'm confident with is that they're going to start industry again before relaxing the social distancing. So the biggest challenge, like all three of us said so far, is how do we make the business profitable whilst making it safe? Queuing systems, table service, then we're all kind of just guessing, I suppose.
I guess until there is a date set and that picture is clearer, again, as we said at the very beginning, that picture is unclear, and you can't start planning or thinking ahead until
not too much, no.
Until you know. But it's good to know, of course, that you're going through that process, and something that we've seen, Singa as a brand, that we've seen a lot of business owners who may have never considered karaoke or singing or live entertainment in the past, actually spending the time to do more research and trying to answer like some big questions like, what can I offer that is different? What can I offer that's going to drive good return, and what can I offer that could complement other forms of entertainment, and for example, might engage a customer on a Tuesday night, and maybe bringing Martin in now. Martin, is this something that you're seeing also, even though the choices for entertainment are huge? I look at this list of more traditional options like pool and bingo, and we joked the other day that on that list is things like axe throwing, and is this competitive socializing going to become quite big in your eyes, and do the winners from this, are they the ones that are the most that offer the most competitive social elements to them? Be good to get your thoughts. I've got an opinion, but of course yours is extremely valid here.
Yeah, so I really think that competitive socializing is here to stay. I'm based out of Shufl's headquarters in Norway, where we've done shuffleboard for the last 10 years, and it's only getting bigger and bigger. So like in Oslo city, for example, it's maximum 5 minutes walk from one place to another who has a shuffleboard. And then you have darts, you have karaoke, you have mini golf, indoor golf, yeah, you name it. So that that competitive socializing is here to stay. That I'm 100% sure of that. So and also, since there are so many that are providing this now in the UK as well, I think that's only positive for us and positive for the bars and the pub owners as well. That their customers have several options to choose from, and they will always come back to the one that they liked the most. And that's the good thing about the shuffleboards, is that you're able to drink, you're able to eat while you're doing it. You're able to do it from 2 persons until 8 persons. So like now everybody's longing to get social again. And with shuffleboard, you're able to do it safe. The shuffleboard is long, so you can be distancing as well. So yeah, I really think that it's here to stay, and many options is good for everybody.
Good to hear. And many of us have witnessed shuffleboard, and it is extremely addictive. So another question actually for the group, and I guess whoever shouts loudest can get involved. But the measures to allow full social interaction may or may not restrict this. And again, a question for everyone. But my thinking is how much extra emphasis will you put on entertainment once the lockdown lifts? It certainly seems like, of course, no brainer. It's going to be quite important, but I've heard lots of mixed suggestions. There'll be a bounce, a big bounce, or will it be a slow return, or will it just be business as usual? We don't know. And I appreciate these are all opinions, but I hear lots of you guys thinking and planning and coming up with ideas. But is that with a view that actually you want to get back into this with a big bang and entertainment's key, or are you just planning in general for the future?
Okay, so I'll go first, shall I? In our style of operation, we have quite a mixed bag. So we have high street bars that sort of value driven in the day, and then at the weekend we go for critical mass with entertainment because we're on the high street or in the centres of towns. We have community pubs, which are probably one of the businesses that I think will be able to open sooner rather than later. And they're, good sort of loyal businesses, good sort of customers, loyal customers that have used a pub for a long time. And then there's food businesses, of course, which there's going to be other challenges, but we're looking at technology around that, order at table, all that kind of stuff. So there's all different sort of varying plans and models that we're working on. One thing I would say though is that the businesses have got to be viable. So if the bounce back and it's full steam ahead and we're allowed to trade and there's just some minimal restrictions that we can work with that are not going to add significant cost, then it's happy days, as everybody's safe, and if we're comfortable that we're over the peak and the worst of the the virus. However, if it's a sort of phased approach where you've got to have added security, for example, added staffing, added checks, and you're not allowed the mass quantity of people that you may get on a dance floor on a Saturday night in a 2,000 capacity nightclub, then all of a sudden, well, what's the point in opening? So the bounce is all dependent on the restrictions, but there's, the smaller businesses, the community businesses, some of the food businesses that are in villages and the country pubs, and more significantly the sole trader landlords. I think their businesses will probably be released and be more controllable first. The town centres and the high streets is where, the clubs and the bars is where we're going to probably face the most challenges. But again, it's all down to the restrictions. But either way, everybody is dying to go out to meet people, to socially compete, to drink, and to just get out and to do something. And I think, people will remember that one thing they will have missed during this is getting a haircut and going to the pub. So.
Yeah, both I can feel deeply with right now, especially the haircut on this call. But Steve, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I'm a town centre venue, so I face the sterner challenges that Paul was talking about there. The question was about entertainment and when are we going to, how are we going to? These are questions that we're only, again, speculating on.
Yeah.
There's a, for us, we're expecting that when we are allowed to open, should it be safe to do so, we are expecting quite a big bounce. Not quite same trade we had before, but similar. And if that carries on for the first 3-4 weeks, we won't need to put on entertainment. We won't need to. And then from my point of view, you have to cast your mind forwards. There's no point going, oh, let's bring in a DJ, let's put on a band with no advertising for it. So if we're going, oh, well, maybe September, we're allowed to open again. We were looking at Christmas as far as booking sort of entertainment. That's how far you have to think in this trade.
Same for getting a haircut.
Yeah. The competitive socialising aspects of the question was, what I found is that if the landlord or the head barman is driven, is motivated to do it, say they particularly like karaoke or darts or pool or shuffle or whatever their game is, then they attract their own. If you can't just put in a karaoke booth or room and expect it to work, you need to have passionate people that want to make it work. I think that's the big difference on the competitive social. Like Martin was saying, that 5 bars down his high streets all have shuffleboard. Why do you go to that one in particular? It'll be people, and this ties back to what we were just talking about. Is that we're missing people, the social the competitive side, whether you win, lose, or whatever. It's not really the driving factor. Is being out with your mates and being able to do something whilst you drink at the same time is a bonus for us.
Yeah. And Steve, you guys invested in karaoke and in our eyes, obviously invested in doing it properly, but I guess that was a clear indicator that you place a high emphasis on the experience part of how customers come down and they want to go to a destination, not just somewhere for a quick drink. So and our view, and I'm sure you share the same, but there's no greater social competition than belting one out on the microphone, right?
Yeah, it is the focal point of our pub. We've built a room in that seats 12 people ish. So again, social distancing will have an effect on that room. But the reason why we did it is that we can take bookings. So especially through December, there was a 3-4 week waiting list. In January, it slowed down a little bit, but we still, for the peak Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there was this same sort of 3-week waiting list. So what that gives me is I know that Friday at 5 p.m, 10 people are going to come in, and 6 and 7 and 8. And as it gets towards the busier or the peak hours, you find that they're pre-booking the drinks so that they don't have to queue at the bar. It's guaranteed income. That's the catch for me.
And all I can keep going back to, I gave the story the other day, was I've got there's 4 dads that we meet up with every couple of weeks, or at least used to, and I think the same as a lot of people, you're constantly looking to fill that void with other online alternatives, which albeit are temporary, but having a beer on Zoom, doing that 2 or 3 times, absolutely fun, different. It was just a different twist of things. But as the weeks have progressed, and I'm glad Paul knows what week we're in because I'm not there. is that
It's only a guess. I might be wrong.
yeah, 6 or 7 is better than mine. But I think that what you end up, as the weeks have gone on, there's been more and more of a pent up demand for the newfound freedom that we'll have at some point, whether it's eased or not. There's going to be that pent up demand, and I think it's quite clear that you guys are thinking about that change and looking to find ways in which you can support that demand when it arrives. But Martin, back to you, I guess. This as suppliers, I guess, of and brands providers to the industry, we're in a really similar boat. And I don't know if you agree the same, but every one of our B2B customers is rethinking their model, exactly as Steve and Paul have done. And of course, we're trying to stay relevant, and you gave us some examples of that. The way that you develop your products is competitive anyway. But anything else that you guys are doing to stay ahead of the curve? I mean, some examples from our side. I mean, we changed our direction a little bit. We did a support your local campaign, which was a revenue share of all of our Singa Pro venues. Any consumer that bought a consumer app gift card, we had a revenue share back to our loyal Singa Pro venues. So we were trying to look for different ways to kind of stay relevant, stay engaged, without, of course, selling a product that the industry wasn't quite ready to receive, because there are other things that they were having to deal with, and we kind of respected that and acknowledged that quite early on. But what we've tried to do on our B2C side is grow that side of the business, so that we don't just have tens of thousands, but we have hundreds of thousands of end consumers who are, in the end, when easing is over or easing up even further, is that these consumers are going to be looking for their local venue to sing in. And actually, that's something that we focused on, because we know the industry is going to want, and our pubs are going to want that even more so when the easing opens up. So we've tried to stay innovative. We've stayed extremely optimistic and positive, but we, like everybody else, are waiting for those days to return. So we've adapted our product a little bit. We're advancing it so it's even more marketing friendly for the venues. But any initiatives, any activities, further ideas that you've got that you've been working on in this 6-week period so far?
Yeah, well, I do agree with you, Steve, and we're all in this together. So like when our core business is in the UK within the hospitality, and when those are struggling in this time, we are struggling as well. So of course we also have to develop and use this time to come better out on the other side, whenever that will be. So of course, yes, we have several types of business models, which a revenue share model is the most common one. And we have our own UK marketing manager who is helping out our customers to talk to their consumers or their customers again. So we're always working hard to be honest, we're not working that differently now, because things will open up, and when things are opening up, it will eventually be the same again. So we're still trying to talk to our players, of course, talk to our customers, and creating good content so that people will be ready when the government says okay.
That's great. And of course, staying relevant is absolutely key here. It's been mentioned a few times about different types of entertainment and those that are looking for simply more than just food and drink. I'd like to talk a bit more about the drivers for deciding that type of entertainment. And of course, that leans a bit more towards Steve and Paul, but maybe just one example. Paul, you identified Barracuda, right, as a venue you would potentially like to convert into and serve other purposes. Could you just give us a bit of insight into what you were thinking behind this, and maybe some of the criteria that you look into deciding one of those 50 options you might decide to implement?
Okay, I can, but we've got 36 followers right now. One of them could be a competitor. So, but anyway, let's tell you what we're thinking. Basically, got a bar in Cleethorpes called Barracuda, which we've owned for a number of years, and we own every other pub in that complex around it. So this is like the bar that is used as a bit of a thoroughfare into the others. It doesn't really have an identity. When we purchased the business 7 or 8 years ago, its identity was around just heavily discounted. It was a place where they had a busy Sunday night karaoke, but Friday and Saturday it was 2-for-1 bottles, and that was kind of the offer, and people went in for one and left. It's a great sort of location. It's a centre spot location. It's like the missing link, really, although it's linked into our other complex. It's the bar that could trade much stronger. So we was looking for something a little bit different. Whilst we do a DJ-led karaoke session on a Sunday night, on a weekend we have a DJ, and we give them a bit of autonomy over what to play. It's usually a mix of sort of classic dance that's played in there. But the karaoke on a Sunday is sort of the most famous night that the bar's got. It's the only sort of reason to visit, essentially. Albeit, you know, it's a circuit bar, but it's famous for is the Sunday night karaoke. So to expand on that, we thought, well, let's just make this into a fully blown cabaret karaoke Singa bar. And this is when we met you guys in London in a karaoke booth in a week before lockdown, I think it was, and we was going to eat pizza, but we decided not to. And I had a look at the Singa system, and essentially it gives you know, the compere or the bar staff or however we was going to run this event a fantastic catalogue of music that we can tap into pretty much instantly. And we was going to rebrand the whole business for some karaoke booths as well, which we was going to add, similar to what Amber Taverns have done in a number of their venues, and Dalton have done that in some of their Edens, I believe, haven't they? Soon to be rebranded as Attics or maybe Oceana, or I don't know. They've got that many brands, I lose track. But so they've tried it as well, and it tends to be, you know, quite a popular thing, karaoke. You either love it or you hate it, but you know, it's good to get a crowd involved, and it's a good sort of builder for business to get people into a venue for that, you know, for that bit of competition, bit of fun, and an opportunity to, you know, get together and you know, so that is our plan, to do something with the Barracuda. It's a penciled in plan that we was about to do a few weeks before we got told to close, so it's all on hold right now, but it's certainly something we'll be looking to do as soon as we open.
Just glad we got to meet you face to face just before. But yeah, how 6 weeks have gone so quickly. But yeah, I guess the whole tech side of it is quite important. I mean, when you think social competition, I guess technology has allowed us to speed that process up a bit, and I guess tech allowed, and from our side, you can turn the shyest individual into a singer or a competitive singer simply by the power of music, but also getting the catalogue in their hands. And I think karaoke to one side, music in general is just a fantastic way to get people socially interacting, spending more, but getting that adrenaline up. And when the adrenaline's up, obviously you stay longer, and you of course spend a bit more time where you are. So we believe in the power of music, but I guess you guys feel the power of technology, and I'm guessing technology is also helping you in general with new options. I mean, Steve, you mentioned about tech that is helping you potentially manage queues and manage people, but I guess also options of managing the experience as well, potentially.
Yeah, that's how we sell the room, is that it's an experience. It's a private booth where you're not disturbed, and like Paul said, the shyest person, or it might be the shyest person, comes out of themselves when they get given the tools to do it. The Singa app is so easy to use. People don't even need to. It's intuitive. The thing for us is that it's say it's a soundproof room in the middle of the pub. You shut the door and you're in there with your mates. You could be anywhere in the world, almost forget the time. Keep prompting them to buy drinks. That's my game.
And long may that
Little
continue.
reminders on the iPad.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're coming to round about the end of my questions, but there's a fair number of questions that are actually starting to come in either via email or via other means. So if you don't mind, if I just jump in with a few fairly impromptu ones. And Martin, we haven't heard from you for a few minutes, so I hope you don't mind me bringing you back in.
Here.
Someone said that the rise and fuel of shuffleboard in Europe over the last 5 years. Why is this? What's driven that? Might be a new term or a new option for many. Any answers to that? I'm sure you're used to answering that.
I am actually, yes. So like a shuffleboard isn't a shuffleboard. Like that's probably the most important thing here. If you have a look over to the States in America, there's nobody that's under the age of 70 who is playing shuffleboard because it's boring. What we did was actually a mistake in Norway 10 years ago when we were assembling the shuffleboard, and we tightened it a little bit too hard, and suddenly it became curved. It became curved, which means that when you're sending the puck will curve and makes the game a lot more fun. And I think like when we introduced that, and of course also the things that we do together with our customers, with the marketing package, with training staff, helping everybody to have their customers again play shuffleboard and do it in a fun way, creating tournaments, having fun with it. And then in the Nordic countries, it became really, really big. We started up in the UK for 3 or 4 years ago. We have our own UK team, which means they are able to cover a lot more ground and talk to people and introducing the game. So I think like the direct answer to the question is that we're more people working with this, more people talking about the product, and of course the product itself as well. It's a lot more fun now with our curve than a regular shuffleboard from the 70s. Yeah.
Thanks, Martin. There's another question here, and yeah, I mean this is the stark potentially reality that we're in, but somebody raised it, and we should certainly try and address it. The Morning Advertiser states just 1 in 3 pub companies are reporting all their sites will reopen after lockdown lifts. Agree? Disagree? Do you see the same for your businesses? Of course, this is one for Stephen and Paul, but not nice to read necessarily. But what are your thoughts here?
Who wants to go first? Steve, do you want to go first?
Well, I'm on a much smaller scale, so I don't see why my venue won't open back up. If the social distancing is strict, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, that we have to keep everybody 2 meters apart. Policing it 1 foot will be insane. Keeping my staff safe so that they've only... it'd be a logistical nightmare to open back up if everybody had to maintain that social distance. For a town centre venue, it'll be difficult. The decision will be hard. I'm not for a second saying that we won't open back up. I can just, all I'm trying to do is put myself in a position of why aren't these pub companies saying that they are or aren't? It's because they haven't got any data to work with. We don't know. If we're constantly guessing, we have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So the worst case scenario is that in this venue that usually holds 400 people, we can only fit 30 in here, then it won't pay for the staff, it won't pay for the rent, it won't pay for the bills. There's, but if we have to do that at the start to make the ball rolling, then that's what we'll do.
And Paul?
Got any ideas, Paul?
Yeah, so from our perspective, you know, if you'd have asked me this question 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, it'd have been a great opportunity to shift some dead weight. Some pubs which were underperforming, and you know, they certainly wouldn't have reopened. The business that we operate now is a relatively lean business. There's going to be some fun conversations at the end of the at the end of it around more likely those that we do lease around rents, and you know, some of the landlords will have been accruing rent. Most have just said, don't even bother thinking about paying us, you can't trade, you know. So, but there are some that will have been accruing rent, and there'll be conversations to have, but there'll be more conversations about screwing the rent down, you know, and making the business more viable, because we'll have lost profit, but not only that, we've got to be a lean business that's going to survive moving forwards. And you know, so for us, we've got a good team. Our MD is all over the figures. I'm more operationally based now, so I'm all over the how to get it going and relaunch everything, and you know, dragging people in off the street to spend money. That's kind of my department. But the others, i.e. other pub companies, other smaller independent operators, it's going to be a challenge for everybody. But there are some people that have been living to just to open the doors of the pub. You know, they'll have been opening the doors to survive, to make a living. A lot of independent, self-employed managers, probably some of Steve's colleagues at Amber Taverns, they'll have, you know, they'll be running a bar, and they'll be sat at the minute earning nothing at all. You know, they might be, you know, self-employed. The people they engage to work with them may well be self-employed, and there will be some good people probably leaving the sector and just thinking, sod this, let's get into getting a job at Tesco or whatever, or working for Amazon. But there will be, you know, the good people that you cut them in half, and down the middle is, you know, they love the industry and they want to be in the industry, and it will only get stronger. But it's a bit of a game, it's a bit of a challenge, and it's all about, you know, the person's will to survive, really. There'll always be a way. It's just finding the, you know, the right route and adopting your business accordingly. You know, just because you can't open and trade as a pub and you might have some restrictions, and you have to quickly think about other ways of making money and diversify. And that's what everybody's going to be thinking about now. It's about, you know, the possibilities are endless and the potential. No time for negativity now. We've got to think about how to get it booming again, in one way or another, you know. But this is something that you should all be doing anyway. Any pub company should always be thinking, any licensee, anybody should always be thinking about, you need to be the best in the sector. You need to be, you know, the reason to visit. You need to remind people that you exist. You need to be looking at bringing in new ideas and new brands, and new drinks, and new entertainment, different, you know, breaking the mold, not just being the same. You need to be constantly thinking about ways to generate more business. I remember years ago, I leased a pub from it's a bit of a swear word now, Punch Taverns, and they give you a book, and it sort of said 100 ways to get your pub busy, and there's a lot of stuff in there which is true today. You know, little ideas, and if every licensee was given a copy of that book, I bet most of them don't know a tenth of what the ideas were. It's back to the drawing board, really, and it's really, you got to think out the box, and you know, it's exciting as well as being scary. It is exciting launching a business almost from scratch, with some commercial pressures behind you, i.e. that, you know, you might not have your team that you're closed with because some people may have left or got jobs elsewhere. You may have difficult discussions with landlords or any creditors. If you've run up any debt whilst you've been closed, hopefully most people are having the brains to control their expenses. But I know various businesses, one of our own in fact, but I know other businesses that have, they're leaving the lights on 24 hours a day. Every Wetherspoons I drive past, I mean, God knows if he's got a deal with Empower or something, but every single light every one of Tim Martin's pubs is on all the time. Maybe it's a security thing, I don't know, but controlling cost is a big thing, and that's what, while the businesses are closed, we do have some living managers, and we've got to obviously keep the heating and the water and the lights for them. But there'll be a lot of licensees who are listening, wondering how they're going to survive. Well, control your costs, plan for your future, and you'll be okay. And I think there you go.
I think that's it's solid advice, and I think of course it's very easy to say embrace change, but it's not that easy when it's in front of you. And I think keeping that balance of being scared but still embracing it and coming up with new ideas, and sometimes not being afraid to start with a fresh piece of paper is not a bad thing. So I think that's definitely a good way to start to wrap up this first webinar with the optimistic view to that question that came in. So thanks, Paul. Also to Martin and Steve, are there any final kind of things that you'd either like to ask another member of the webinar, or certainly close with some final words? Just looking at the time, but it'd be great to just get a few final words from you, and then we can move into a wrap up.
I would like to add a comment to Paul's positivity here. Like I said, I'm based in Norway. The bars actually opened in Norway yesterday. I know that they're going to open in Denmark next week. Maybe it's too early, I don't know. The rules are set, the rules are there. They're tough to follow, but I also think, like Paul said, that stay positive, think ahead, and just plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Good advice. Good advice.
Very true. And Steve, do you kind of feel in line with Paul, or?
Yeah, I don't have the bigger picture. Mine is quite. Say I employ 16 people. The brewery above me have been quite good with the rent and the rates and all the bills. We are positive. The bit that Paul mentioned that resonated with me was that there's a lot of pubs out there that were struggling, whether it would be with the clientele, how people know it. They've got a chance now to reinvent themselves. They've got a chance now to maybe splash some paint around while it's closed, put something in the books for the next next quarter, maybe talking about the entertainment, and revisiting old ideas is always a great one. Yeah, okay, not everybody likes playing Chase the Ace, or it didn't work 10 years ago, or bonus ball. These are little things that you do in community pubs, but it engages, it gives you an opportunity to talk to your customers. And where, if you've highlighted where you've been going wrong, you've got a chance now to put it right. Although I think the difficult bit is going to be from when they start relaxing it until we're over this virus. But once we're, if you've forecasted and planned for the future, you put steps in place to get yourself through it. Say reduce your costs. I'm just repeating here, but there's a perfect springboard to reinvent yourself and come out for the better.
It's like a new launch, essentially. Yeah. Treat it as a new launch, but you've already got some, well tried and tested loyalty, in the cupboard to bolster it up. So, no, it's a good time, or it will be a good time once we get the opportunity to swing the doors back open. it's also exciting, and it's a good opportunity to look at, you know, like I say, how you can think about sales, pre-book revenue, which Steve mentioned, is massive, and it's really important. And as a business, we're not as good as we should be. You know, and for those who don't know what that means, it's when you've got a function in the diary in advance where you know you're going to have 50 people attend who are going to spend, you know, £1,000 on your bar in addition to what you'd normally take on that night. It's when you've got a karaoke booth booked out. It's when you've got 2 shuffle boards booked out, like in Cardiff when we used to have shuffle boards. You know, you could guarantee, you know, on a midweek night when there was some sport on, you'd have crazy students emailing and ringing in to book shuffle boards, and there'd be, you know, paying on a card in advance to secure, you know, a table for the night. So pre-book revenue is really important, and I think more businesses should consider and think about ways to encourage and, you know, ways to take pre-book revenue. And
just moving this, I'm navigating your questions and also questions that are coming in. So taking another question out of the UK actually and back to Norway. So Martin, this is firmly back to you. But question is, you want to know, do you know much more about the restrictions on bars opening in Norway? Anything around that could help a question that's just landed here, or is it still fairly fresh news?
No, so the restrictions is that you're not allowed to stay closer than 1 meter. There is some really strict rules regarding hygiene and yeah, like cleaning stuff, and of course, like a nightclub with a dance floor, they don't have a chance to open. But a pub with dart or shuffleboard or karaoke or whatever, they will be able to open because of the hygiene rules that are set. So if they follow them, yeah, it is like basically hygiene with cleaning and of course the social distancing.
Okay, well, hopefully that answers that as much as it can be at this stage. I can see obviously no questions regarding Sweden. For obvious reasons, business as usual there. But yeah, just if there are any other questions, we are starting to wrap up now. But look, I want to just say a really big thanks to Steve, Paul, and Martin. You know, it's been really valuable, and I fully appreciate that right now some of these questions are quite hard because, of course, you're planning and thinking, but you're largely planning for a bit of an unknown. So of course, let's see what happens this Sunday with the start of that easing, and then let's see what the subsequent ones bring us. But again, like a really good, really nice thank you from our side. You know, really appreciate you taking the time. Again, thank you. For those that have attended, thanks for sticking with us. I can't believe we actually got through 50 minutes that quickly, but hopefully we've addressed some questions. I would also like to just point out that this was our first again, and there will be a follow-up. The next one is digging deeper into competitive socializing from a market insight trend perspective. So we'll be joined with Cam Media for this one, and really looking forward to that. So we'll put into context a lot of what everybody's been talking about in this webinar, and start to see the data that may or may not support some of that. But unless there's anything else from you guys, again, official thank you, and wish everyone a fantastic bank holiday weekend, and thanks for attending.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.